Hello, lovelies. Sorry about that. I just got disconnected. Welcome to Narc Free Formula. My name's Freedom. Tonight's episode, take 2, is about Chris Watts. Chris Watts' 3 lives, 3 loves, and the lessons that can be learnt from Chris Watts. So before I start, if you like my videos, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel and share the videos widely. Would be very much appreciated. Also, if you've got anything to say, put it in the comments. That'd be awesome too. All right, so I've got some notes here. So everyone who has been following the case I assume, would have been quite shocked when Trent Bolt came forward. So for those of you who don't know, Trent Bolt was 29 years of age, and he was someone who had met Chris on through the app Meet Me. It was a secret app that Chris had on his phone. He had met Trent and they had had a sexual relationship for 10 months. He had paid for Trent's facial, lip fillers and facial injections and that kind of thing. So, despite the fact that they had financial problems, there he is splashing out on his secret lover. So when we look at the photos and footage and videos and things on social media that Shanann used to post about her and Chris and the family, for all intents and purposes, they look like a really happy couple, which makes this so much more sinister. And, when you look at Chris, there is nothing to suggest that, that he would be the type of bloke to either have an affair or to be having sex with men behind his wife's back. But, that turns out to be the case. So when you see the photos of them, the family, it's quite obvious that Shanann has a lot of energy and a lot of fuel to give to her husband. There is no doubt in my mind that Chris Watts is a narcissist. No doubt whatsoever. And he would have absolutely thrived on the fuel that Shanann would have given him, because she adored him. She idolized him. She put him up on a pedestal. She absolutely adored him. And those little girls adored him, and she encouraged them adoring him. And, for all intents and purposes, once again, he also looked like a really good father. But, he murdered those little girls in cold blood and dumped their bodies in vats of oil. So, there is a huge disconnect between looking like a good father and actually being a good father. And that is highlighted in this particular case. In fact, I think that highlights a lot of, this fake love, fake relationships. The narcissist, it is very much about appearances and image and how it looks. And so, in all these photos, they looked like a happy couple. He looked in love. But was he? All right, so they were married for 8 years. And it wasn't until the horrific triple homicide that all this stuff kind of came to light. So the fact that he had had this 10-month sexual relationship with Trent Bolt, the fact that he had these secret hidden apps on his phone. So he had Meet Me, which is one of those kind of dating apps for, I don't even call them dating, but apps for people who want to find other people around them who are available for hooking up, we'll put it that way. And when the police actually went through his phone, they found out that yes, he actually had quite a vast history of communicating with other women and other men. So it wasn't just Trent. So yeah, they were married for 18 years. Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant at the time she was murdered. So what I find really fascinating is the fact that he only broke up with Trent in May of 2018. Sorry, Trent broke up with him in 2018, in May. And so he hooked up with Nicole Kessinger. I think it was in June. And this is just after telling Trent that Chris, and Trent should take the girls and start a life together in Oregon. So that was his initial plan. Well, that was the plan that he was telling Trent. And once again, this goes to the narcissist future faking, telling everyone what they want to hear. So he was telling Trent that he was going to take the girls and move to Oregon to start a life with Trent. He was telling Nicole Kessinger that he was going to divorce Shanann and go and start a life with Nicole. And he was telling Shanann that they should have a third child and, extend their family. Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant. So the maths, it all coincides. He's got a pregnant wife, a girlfriend who he's been with for 8 weeks, and a boyfriend that 3 days before the murder, he texts to declare his undying love for, even though they've separated. So he's running 3 parallel lives and realities. As I said, telling each and every one of these 3 people everything they wanted to hear. It's quite bizarre, really. What I found fascinating was a couple of things, and the whole thing's very, very tragic and very traumatic. But I found it very fascinating. So, Shanann's text messages to Chris say things like, "I don't know how you fell out of love in 5.5 weeks, or if this has been going on for a long time, but you don't just plan on having another baby." And it's so true. Who plans on having another baby when they are having an affair, talking about running away with, the gay boyfriend, and then talking about starting a new life with the new mistress, but is having a child at the same time? Also, just quickly, another little takeaway note from this is Chris had 2 secret apps on his phone. So the other one was Secret Calculator. So it's an app that looks like a calculator, but when you press a certain code or password or whatever it is, it opens up a vault where you can hide all your photos and all your text messages that you don't want your girlfriend or your wife to see. And the Meet Me apps as well. Now, this is a really fascinating thing that I find sinister and telling. So on the 25th of July, Chris Watts Googled when to say I love you. But it gets weirder than that. When to say I love you in a new relationship, and what do you feel when someone tells you they love you? And how does it feel when someone says, I love you? That, to me, that just says it all. Narcissist through and through. Doesn't even know what it feels like when someone confesses that they love you. And so he's trying to find out how she's going to respond, but he's also trying to figure out how he needs to respond in case she says it back to him. And when I say she, I'm referring to Nicole, because by this stage, he's planning his new escape, new life with the new supply. 8 weeks they were together. And he murdered those 2 little girls and his pregnant wife for some woman that he had known for 8 weeks. And yet, 2 months before that, he was about to run off with some gay boy. This is why when when we talk about narcissists, this is why I say it's not safe to stay with them. It's not safe to just know, oh, well, he's a narcissist. It's okay. It doesn't matter. You know, I can handle the abuse and I can handle the neglect and I can handle his moodiness and I can handle this. The reality is they can turn so quickly, you know, and look how quickly he turned on his family. You know, when he decided that they were in the way, that he wanted to do something new, he didn't think twice about destroying them, literally destroying them, you know. And what kind of confused person is having affairs with this one, having affairs with that one, and having a baby? They planned to have that baby. That wasn't an accidental baby. They planned to have that child. So this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Narcissists don't have plans for the future. All they think about is getting their needs met right now, right here, saying and doing whatever it takes today to get what we need. It doesn't matter, you know, if they destroy people's lives. It doesn't matter whose hearts they break. It doesn't matter the damage that they cause. All they care about is getting their needs met. And this trail of destruction that this man left behind. I mean, you know, the beautiful thing is he's going to spend 3 life terms in jail. I mean, we'll never see Chris Watts again. So hallelujah for small mercies. But, you know, this case, you know, it makes me literally sick to my stomach. The thought of someone, you know, being able to kill those little girls, and the worst thing is when you watch the footage of him lying afterwards and pretending to be concerned and appealing to whoever's got them to bring them back, you know, all fake. And his responses, you know, he doesn't know how to act, he doesn't know how to behave, because, you know, they just wear a mask. Narcissists wear masks. Their sexuality is fluid. You know, there's no such thing as are they gay, are they straight? You know, apparently, according to Trent, Chris said he didn't know if he was bisexual or gay. Bet Shanann didn't know that. Bet Shanann had no fucking clue that her husband was running around having sex with men and telling them, well, I don't know if I'm gay or bi. Mate, it's just, you know, there's no sexuality. They just are totally fluid. They don't care. Whoever gives them fuel is where they'll be. Doesn't matter if it's a man. Doesn't matter if it's transsexual. It doesn't matter if it's a woman. You know, it doesn't matter as long as they're getting the fuel and supply that they need. They say what they want to get what they want. All right, darlings. As I said, I just wanted to talk about that and raise the points about the fluid sexuality, about the secret and hidden apps, and about the fact that narcissists future fake, and this is a classic and perfect portrait of what future faking actually looks like. You know, he's not just doing it to one person, but he's doing it to 3 people. Future faking, and also, of course, you know, to highlight the absolutely horrific outcomes that can happen. I mean, if you look at Chris Watts, you know, just as a quick glance, as him, as a, you know, your average, you know, middle class, middle-aged man, you would never think that he had a violent streak in his body. Right? Whereas half of the narcissists and psychopaths and sociopaths, you know, these men are violent all the time. So if Chris Watts can murder his children and his wife in their sleep, imagine what these sick fucks are capable of doing. The ones that, you know, that we put up with and we justify their behavior. You know, if they have the capacity to be violent, well, not if, they all have the capacity to be violent, because they don't view us as human beings with our own lives and own needs and wants and, you know, existence. All they see us as is appliances, as tools to get what they want. So if we're not working for them, if we're not giving them what they want, we have no value. So it's just as easy to try and get rid of us. You know, in his mind, he was done with Shanann. You know, he thought he had this thing with Nicole, that it was bigger and better than Ben-Hur, and he was going to ride off into the sunset with him and his new woman. And they were just going to forget about the fact that he had murdered his pregnant wife and 2 little girls. You know, that was just going to be a little footnote that no one ever knew about. And that was his plan, to go and build a life with this woman he'd known for 8 weeks. You know, there are people that have had ingrown toenails for longer than that. My God, 8 weeks. And he was prepared to do that for her. So this is why I say to you, you know, that narcs have no loyalty. And quite literally, they can pick up with someone that they met down at the corner store, you know, and be more loyal to that person because that person doesn't know them. That person's giving them lots of energy. That person hasn't been hurt by them, hasn't been fucked over by them, hasn't been damaged by them, right? So that person's continually happy to give them lots of energy. And that is all a narcissist wants, is just someone to keep giving them energy. And once someone isn't grade A supply anymore, you know, once they're a little bit tired, like in Shanann's particular instance. So she was pregnant. She probably wasn't feeling the best. You know, all of a sudden he started to realize that, you know, a 3rd baby would mean less attention, less fuel, less supply. You know, so Shanann wasn't enough fuel anymore. So he had to have affairs and do all the other stuff. I don't know. Look, they're just absolutely sick. So, darlings, get yourself narc free and stay narc free. That's all I can say. That is all I can say. All right. Thanks for joining me. Good night.